Hi there. I am so excited to welcome Vanessa Horn as our Power Thinking interview for this month. Vanessa has been an entrepreneur for over 10 years. She's built and sold a number of successful businesses, and she's really helped female entrepreneurs and executives build a life that they love. So, Vanessa, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, it's interesting, Vanessa, as I look at all of the things that you do, I think one area of expertise that I would love to dive in with you is around this idea of women and sales and a successful mindset for selling. And, going through your materials and talking about sort of this, you measure a return on investment of both the time and energy and investment. And dig into three areas. And the first is really, why is it important, or how does somebody tapping into a purpose in their selling process?
Absolutely. I had previously been advised when I was in college by a mentor to go into sales. He told me two things: Vanessa, go into sales and invest in gold. And I wish I would have listened to him, and I didn't do either. I went and pursued a career as a corporate financial analyst in helping the sales force help companies measure the return on investment of any kind of deal that we would do. But the thing is that as I was pursuing that, I realized I really wanted the flexibility of being an entrepreneur and starting my own business, and so that's what got me off of that path. And what I found is the number one way to do that, and any business owner really who is the rainmaker, who is kind of leading the entire organization, has to have that mindset of how they're going to continue to bring in sales and bring in profits to the company. So I went into representing another company as an independent representative, and I, within a year's time, had reached one of the top sales position in that company. And I turned around and did it with another company, and what made the difference for me, and then turning around and serving thousands of women to try to do the same thing, was tapping into a sense of purpose for why they were doing what they're doing. And this applies for any executive, any business leader. And what I have seen is sometimes we can get into, it's not unpopular to look at vision boards and what you want to create, and sometimes we put these things on the board that are represented by financial means. But I really believe that the money driver is not enough of a motivation for people to get out of their comfort zone when it comes to sales, to get past any fear of asking for the sale or asking to help somebody take a step further with us. And so this mindset of the purpose, I found clues in working with individuals to find out, okay, what's driving you in what you're doing in life. And the clues were in their story, in a struggle that they have had in the past, or in their soapbox. So for instance, I worked with a gentleman. I did this live. It was exactly like this as a Google Hangout. He's a company owner. He has 10 employees and 20,000 customers. And I started to unravel each one of these pieces, his story, his struggle, or his soapbox. And all of a sudden, we tapped into something that he'd never recognized before. And that was the fact that he had grown up the son of a baker, and he saw his parents owned by their business. Mm-hmm. And he started having tears in his eyes, remembering that his parents did not have time to think about marketing. Meanwhile, today, he has a platform that helps people take advantage of social media in a really big way. And I help tie in, because I believe any kind of pain point that we've experienced in the past is that driving force for what we're doing to help others. And I said, look, you're helping small business owners not be owned by their business. And not the ones who don't have time to think about marketing. You're leveraging all your expertise and your business to help them. And he had never connected the two of that being his driving force that instilled this huge sense of purpose and drive in what he was doing. And I said, out of the 10 employees you have, how many know that story? And he said 2. And I said, out of your 20,000 customers, how many of them know that story? He said, I don't know if a single one does. And as we're doing this live on the air, what we saw coming in were all these hundreds of comments of people who were his customers saying, we never knew this. It instilled this sense of mission within all of them to help him be more successful and get the word out, because they were tied in to a deeper sense of mission and purpose in what he was doing.
You know, it's interesting, Vanessa, is I heard this once said as when the why gets big enough, the how gets easier.
Yes.
And so it's really finding your why in terms of, you know, what's the deeper reason behind it. I love that, tapping into a pain point, a story, you know, a soapbox, those things. That's a really nice way to figure out that purpose.
And what is that purpose that's about others?
Yeah, I love that.
What's that purpose that if it was your last year on Earth, that what would you want your work to be about? How have you helped set somebody else free to experience a richer life because of the product or service that you're representing?
I think what's interesting too is, you know, we've got some members and parts of the Moxie community that are not necessarily entrepreneurs. We have people that are within companies. And I define sales, I think, a little broader than most, and that's we're all selling all day long. This might be an idea that you need to get your team to buy into. Or a decision point or a strategy. So as we're talking about this, Vanessa, I want people really thinking about that in the broad sense. Yeah, certainly you can think about product or service, but think about the other areas where these concepts apply.
Any area where you're involved in what I call the art of enrollment. You're enrolling someone into a vision. You're enrolling somebody into a cause. You're enrolling your boss into believing that you should be promoted. I mean, all of these are arenas of influence and persuasion that the way we're showing up, the way that drive, that sense of purpose has such a huge influence in those with whom we come into contact.
Excellent. So you start with tapping into that purpose. You also talk about presence. Tell us more about that.
The book that I'm writing is called I'll Have What She's Having.
I love that.
It's the same thing that I have seen in business have people respond, I have to do business with you. I have to work with you. It's the same underlying it factor of how we show up in life, that we have that confidence, that we exude this life and this vibrancy, and that we exude a sense of impact and influence on others, that they're saying, I want some of that. I want to hear what you have to say. And that's where that influence for enrollment takes place. And so what I do is I describe this anatomy of an influencer. So how do you show up in this in such a way? I mean, it happens all the time. When somebody powerful walks in the room, we sense it. We can see it by the way that they walk, talk, interact with people. So how do we embody that ourselves? And this is what I call the anatomy of an influencer. And it starts with our head, our brain, our mind. Where is our mind? And I say that when we come from a place of being passionately curious about others, and we're getting into their world, and we're listening to how we can serve them, what are the needs that they have, I'm always listening. What is the problem that they have, and what is the solution to get them to the end result that they want, and can I help bridge that?
And passionate, so that's that. Yeah, passionate listening. Boy, that is such a powerful phrase.
Yes, so the mind's coming from that curiosity. That's where the ears come in, that passionate hearing, saying, how can I listen beyond the words of what they're saying? And I can't tell you how many times when I've listened to really get somebody's world, and I repeat back to them, this is what I hear you saying, or this is what I really see as that aim of what you're trying to get to, they're amazed. They're amazed, and they're saying, yes, that's exactly it. All of a sudden, we have a powerful audience where they're engaged, and it's not from us promoting all of these features and benefits or all of our persuasive points. It's from listening and taking the time to be able to reflect powerfully. The eyes of an influencer say, how can I see them for more than who they are? What are the deeper needs and desires that they have? The mouth of an influencer, I believe, as leaders, as women, the word inspire means to breathe life into. So when we show up in such a way that we're saying, how can I breathe life into this person by pointing out the things that I see that are valuable about them, and the power of edification of another individual that acknowledges not only the work that they're doing and their achievements, but acknowledges who they are as an individual, how they're showing up in the world, and what kind of impact that has on us. People, they're impacted by that tremendously. They're impacted, like you, Maureen. I mean, you've written several books. You have this huge community of women that you're powerfully impacting. You're a keynote speaker. But my experience of you is this passionate woman who embodies being powerful, being influential, being driven by a sense of mission. And so whenever you called me, I was like, you know what? I want to do work with this woman. That was the kind of influence that you had by the way that you were showing up and speaking. Then going to the heart of an influencer is living open-hearted. The feet of an influencer say, I'm willing to go where no one else is willing to go. It's being willing to get out of our own comfort zones. If that sales conversation is something that stretches us, we say, you know what, it's worth it for who I can serve. The hands of an influencer say, how can I serve the person in front of me? Like I said before, listening, what's their pain, what's the pleasure that they want to get to, and how can I bridge the gap for them? And then I believe the last part, the anatomy of influencers, are that arm, that elbow that says, hey, let's work on this together. Let me lead you and guide you on what I see as the next best steps based on what I'm hearing you're trying to achieve. And people appreciate that leadership.
You know what I think is really nice about the way you laid that out is there's this holistic approach. And if I'm really thinking about all of those elements, I can't ignore, any piece of it. I can't ignore the heart piece. I can't ignore the ears or eyes. I can't ignore the feet. It all has to work together to really show up with that presence.
Yes.
That's great. And then talk about profit with honor. I think this is a really interesting concept.
So profit with honor, and this is what I've seen work so powerfully for individuals who have tapped into their purpose. They've tapped into what it means to show up powerfully with that presence of an influencer. And it's this saying, okay, I'm not willing to dishonor myself or dishonor the person in front of me. And it's acknowledging that the honor in the sales process is that, honoring ourselves, honoring the person in front of us, and honoring the process. And when we're showing up in this way that I described of the anatomy of an influencer, we're communicating honor to the person in front of us. And when the key distinct steps in the closing process that I've seen work so powerfully is when we're showing up to listen to how we can serve them, how we can help take it further with them, we're able to acknowledge what it is that they're truly trying to accomplish, and based on that say, you know what, this is what I hear. Based on that, this is what I recommend we do next, and we're guiding them through a clear process so that they're virtually closing themselves. And when we give them when we present options that are a direct reflection of what we hear they're trying to accomplish, it gives them a sense of being respected, and that we don't feel like we have to be this hard-charging, aggressive individual in order to have in order to have tremendous sales results. As a matter of fact, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking, listening to you, that you have to come at this being very open-minded. If I am doing profit with honor, I don't have a preconceived notion of how my interaction with you is going to go. I might get after having really listening to you fully, I might say, gosh, this does not make sense for us to work together. Here's somebody that I know. I mean, really being honorable in that, serving both of us.
Exactly. When someone can sense that we're not attached to the outcome, that our agenda isn't our own goal, when we can put all of that aside, I really have my clients work to envision what it would be like when they're at their end goal so that they can see it so clearly as a done deal, so they can put that aside and they no longer have to be concerned with how it's going to show up. If they take the steps necessary, the conversations, then they can be fully present for the person in front of them, come from a place of service, and like you said, not be attached that they work with me, but I'm attached to what they're trying to accomplish. And if that means that I can point them to somebody else who I know could serve them more powerfully, that's what shows up in such a way in conversations that people say, I trust you, I like you, I'm willing to be led by you, and we're working in conjunction as a team with them to determine what's the best solution to accomplishing what they want to in their life, their business, or whatever's the problem we're trying to help solve.
And just an openness about it. And I love that once you've already truly believe that you're going to get the outcome that you want, maybe not with this person, but you're going to get to where you need and want to be. You can I love the idea of just setting that aside and then just being in conversation and in flow with the person in front of you.
Yeah, being fully present. Who is this person? What do they want? What do they need?
So we're coming toward the end here, Vanessa. It's just flown by. Any other just bits of wisdom you'd like to leave the Moxie community with?
I'll bring you back to that question. I think I may have referenced it at the very beginning of this call, and that was, if this were the last, did I talk about that, the last year of your life?
You just touched on it.
I touched on that, and I believe it's a powerful thing that moves us forward in our lives and in our business, and it's asking the question, if this were the last year of my life, what would I do? And when we take time to do that, and we can sense that every action that we do in our personal lives and in our professional lives are directly linked to what is most important and those priorities, and being able to clear out all the things that aren't in alignment with that, it helps us to be able to propel forward in that greater sense of purpose. It helps bring the results that we want personally and professionally.
Because for all any of us know, it is the last year of our life. So we should be living that way. So, wonderful. Vanessa, thank you so much. I can't wait to pick up the book. I'll have what she's having. It's coming out in March. And can't wait for you to just continue the conversation with the Moxie community.
Well, I love what you're creating here. What a tremendous woman you are to lead this mission.
Thanks so much, and we will talk with you soon.
All right, sounds good. Beijos.